I'm only 8 minutes. I'm only 8 minutes late. Okay.
We're discussing the camper at Brookside Park, Peter.
Yes, I kind of understood that from Sheila and George's note to us. But thank you, Wade.
Okay. Good.
Did you have any more concern? Are there any more concerns with the camper? Do you have any input, Peter, on the camper situation?
Yeah, I have not seen the camper down there. I've ridden my bike less these days, but gosh, that's a hard call. Are people sleeping in it during the night?
Well, it's really, the issue is it's a neighbor who's using our park as their personal storage area.
Oh, that's not right.
It's not cool.
No. So I would vote we should ask them not to anymore.
Yeah, and that's why we want to put it into the code, because the code is silent on it, which caused this problem. And right. The police don't have the ability to enforce it if it's not in the code. That's why we're looking to have the line added into the code.
Gotcha.
Is there any way that it could be interpreted as being an endangerment of children? Reckless endangerment of little kids that are in the park and in that play area, stuff like that. Can they get into something that is either present on the outside, like a gas tank, propane tank or something like that they could open up and cause problems?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good option for them to look at in the immediate. Again, I know they were trying to strongly encourage that they do the right thing and move it. And so hopefully that's going to happen shortly. I think they were making some progress with it. We just want to make sure we have a long-term fix. And one that's, again, one that's wise. When you read the code for park and recreation areas, there's not lots and lots of detail. And I think that's probably somewhat deliberate so that it gives some flexibility in using the park system. We just don't want it to be abused.
George, for the provision about the no overnight, there are some times when there's some state and some other utilities that are given permission from the township to use our park. So make sure you kind of have that language incorporated in that as well, because I know Aqua and PennDOT and all that have used those facilities before for parking their trucks or whatever, if there's some type of construction going on.
So I think unless permission has been given.
Yep.
Because, I mean, we had a situation where there was somebody with a camper in Florida Park, and when the roads were being repaved in Florida Park, they said, hey, they're going to be coming down my road. Can I put my camper at Drexel Lodge for 2 days? And we said, fine, there's no problem with that. It was, that was a no-brainer, but they asked permission. We knew it was there. They signed a waiver of some kind that, it wasn't our responsibility if anything happens. So yeah, if permission's given on an exception, that's fair. Yeah, that's legit. Thanks, Sheila. Any other thoughts on the code question? Is there anything else that besides parking and the things that we met, I'll broach the homeless question. I'll broach
dogs off the leash. I think we should be increasing that fine.
It's already in there.
Yeah,
I know, but it has to be enforced. You have to call the police. I just think we need to increase the fine and put that up as a signage, because maybe people might, listen, if we can get $300 for every time somebody poos down there, we can get a bocce ball and 10 dogs. So
I've been working with the police on trying to have them enforce the dog situations, because there's three things. I mean, they have to be on a leash. You have to clean up after them, and technically, according to the code, they're not supposed to be barking or bothering anybody or endangering anybody in any manner. And people are not wise when they bring their dogs there a lot of the time. But that's something that's enforceable now. It's just a question of when somebody sees it, they have to call 911. The police will go. They have to catch them there, you know, because chances are they don't stay there very long.
I have a question on that. I've seen several people with dogs off lead, and would it be wise for us just to call 911 or go over and say we're part of the Parks and Rec people, and there is a code that says you have to have your dog on your lead, on its lead? Should we intervene, or should we just call the police?
I think we should buy Peter his uniform. He's been asking long enough.
I would
Order it
recommend,
fast for Peter, please, so he doesn't get killed.
Well,
yeah,
just
I
make
would
sure.
recommend calling the police. I'll tell you, anytime and you know, and I'm in uniform, anytime I have addressed it with people, they generally don't react in a positive manner.
Right.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say to their dog, sick 'em.
So yeah, I would recommend calling 911, and I've actually recommended that our dog signs even say that. You know, if you
Oh, that
see-
would be good.
if
That
you
would be
see
very
some
good.
of these things being abused, you should call 911.
Right. Well, I'll do it tomorrow.
Is there anything else from the code standpoint? And again, I'm sorry I kind of added that into an already full agenda.
No, just the structures thing that Bill brought up. I don't know if that,
Yeah, I think that's good. And the parking, unless permission, it's good. Great. Thank you very much for this group's counsel on that. I think it's helpful, not only that we, you know, that I presented to the board, but that I know that the Parks and Rec group is also, you know, behind that.
We are.
yes.
Great. Thank you. All right, I'll stop talking now, Wade.
So which park was that camper was parked in?
Brookside.
Brookside
Oh.
was the camper.
Oh, in the gravel parking lot.
Yeah.
Right by the playground, yeah.
And
And
we've
George
had,
had said something before about another campers being there, and now I do remember campers being there before.
there was a boat there once.
Well,
Somebody was-
maybe it might be a revenue thing. We could have monthly rent.
Yeah, it was
There's
was,
been many things like that parked down there, and even you know, like trucks and things of that nature that are not permission and all. It's kind of getting scary.
yeah. Great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so I guess we'll go through the agenda. And where are we at with yoga, Sheila?
We completed the 12 weeks for the summer program, which was fantastic. Now we're waiting for the township, and George, maybe you could give us some clarity. We asked for two things. We did ask for the Holly Jolly shopping event, which was supposed to be scheduled on Sunday, October 18th. I wrote to Wade, Wade wrote to Steve. We continually, this was a joint venture with the Newtown Square Business Association and with Parks and Rec. It was intended to provide a safe opportunity for our community to support local businesses in the midst of the pandemic. But we've gotten no answer. And now it's really, at this point, it's you know, 15 days out from it. So we have to just can't go through with it. And it's great disappointment because this was set up, we talked about this in like August. The business association was very excited about it, but you know, we had factored in everything with COVID, the one way in, one way system out. We weren't planning for, we really kind of went over the top in making sure we were fully compliant with COVID, and it didn't go through. So I was greatly disappointed, but I do think it's really important if we could get an answer at least tonight or tomorrow. If I thought Steve was going to be on the call for the spooky yoga idea. Now this was, listed at Drexel Lodge Park. It would be under the pavilion. It was going to be a costume spooky event for adults and for children. It was $15 for adults, $7 for children. 50% of the proceeds would go to Parks and Rec. And Jolly Llama would be the one organizing, teaching it, and setting up the class. It was going to be a community event that would be sponsored, and we needed the pavilion to make sure, you know, electricity, bathroom safety, and all those things. It was from 4:30 to 6:30, and it was like a fun event. And I believe it was October 24th. I have it, yeah, the Saturday. But we haven't heard back from the township on that at all. I know Wade's asked, I've asked, you know, for the supervisors to please give us, you know, and this again is the same time we asked about this. So it's a little disheartening because to try to set up these programs take a lot of work and effort. You go out and you extend, you know, opportunities for people. And when you don't get answers back, it's kind of like, you know, makes you feel like you're just spinning your wheels here, you know? So if I could get an answer tomorrow about the spooky yoga, I know Jolly Llama already has classes down at Brookside that they're, you know, they're doing for their program. So this is a different one. This is the one for the community and the fundraising effort as well for Parks and Rec. We were hoping to get, you know, 25 people, or at least we were expecting, and we were hoping 50% of that for Parks and Rec. So if you need any other information, I had sent everything out in writing to Wade, and Steve has it, and you were CC'd on everything as well.
Okay, spooky yoga for Saturday the 24th, 4:30 to 6:30.
At Drexel Lodge. And
what's
I
that?
wrote down what we needed. You know, I mean, Wade and I would handle it. You know, all we would need to do is make sure electricity was turned on and that the pavilion was just blown out. And, you know, we would be able to be there for everything else. And if you want, I can resend you the outline thing if you
Yeah,
don't have it.
Do that just to play it safe. I mean, I'll go back through my stuff, but
But if you can, let them know that we were greatly disappointed about the Holly Jolly shopping event, because that really, the business association, I mean, they gave us a yes within 12 hours. All the all their board members for the business association were on top of that and excited about it. So it was disappointing.
So in fairness to Steve on the first one, the business association thing, we didn't get that request in a timely manner for him to turn it around, apparently, to the board of supervisors.
Well, we sent it in, I mean, we discussed it at our September meeting and had it, you know, everything. We discussed it even before then, but I guess, you know,
well,
it is what it is.
there was no September meeting though. I mean, we talked, but there wasn't a quorum. There was no recommendation from Park and Rec that could go forward because there weren't enough people.
Paul, did you hear that about the, Paul? I can see Paul, but I can't hear him.
He is not muted.
Paul?
Paul, did you hear what we were just talking about, the Holly Jolly?
All right, how about now?
Yes.
That all was about. I'm sorry.
Did you hear what we were just talking about the Holly Jolly?
I did not. I'm sorry.
Okay, Holly Jolly shopping event for October 18th. Sunday cannot happen. We haven't gotten an answer back, and it just became a situation where we can't be able to make it a successful event in 2.5 weeks, because by the time you get the vendors, and we were greatly disappointed because it was a great event that your business association was willing to do with Parks and Rec, and it was positive, but we're going to hopefully do something like that next year.
Got it. What was that date again, Sheila?
That was the Sunday, October 18th. That was the Holly Jolly shopping event for the vendors at Drexel Lodge Park. That is a no-go.
All right.
And then we're still waiting for, and I'm sending George again the information about the spooky yoga event at Drexel Lodge.
And again, the Railroad Museum Community Day has been canceled because of COVID concerns.
I know, yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon or good evening, everybody.
All right, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
How are you, Peter?
Hey, I'm still walking today, so I'm doing all right.
Okay, good.
So the Greer Park Master Plan update, we met Tuesday night. And they're pretty far along. They're probably 50% complete from what I've seen. And they're now looking at pricing two different versions, one keeping the pond and one removing the pond. So we're going to get some rough order magnitude estimates from them to go forth to the supervisors with. I assume that's our next process. But we're moving quite along quite well.
Has the willow tree been taken down, or the two willow trees?
Now,
You'll do that when, George, maybe?
I don't know. And again, that's another thing that we're going to want to talk about tonight, because we talked last meeting, but there wasn't a quorum of members, so we couldn't send an official recommendation along to the board about it.
Okay.
Wait, do you want me to discuss the issue of the skating, since you're talking about Greer Park, or should I wait till the end?
Yeah, let's just go through old business and then new business, and then whatever we have, we'll add. So the bocce ball court has, have you done anything with that, George, or?
Well,
Have
we
you heard
put
from
it,
Steve?
I mean, we submitted it with the capital budget
Okay, all right.
and the same thing with the
The water fountain?
water bottle fillers. So we put
Okay.
them in the capital budget. I mean, we'll see. I don't know what's going on with the budget yet. It's in the process of being presented. They present it piecemeal. You know, again, remember, as of right now, there hasn't been enough money for me to replace my person that I lost. So I don't know what's going to happen next year. I don't, but it's in. It's in with everything that you submitted as with the water filler.
Okay, so if they reject it, can we solicit funds from businesses in the community, or?
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so. I would check with Steve before we embark on it. But yeah, I would think that could be done.
Okay,
And that includes the horseshoe pits also?
Exactly. That was all part of the submission. And again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying no, it's not happening. I'm just it's submitted for the budget. It's certainly not happening this year. You know, it would be looking for the 2021 budget, but you know, we'll see.
all right, and then the internet, I haven't done anything with that, I apologize, it's been hectic. The paint scheme for the basketball court, though, the art teacher from the high school did get back to me. She seems extremely excited. She just wants, you know, I guess we're going to need to set up some kind of formal process of how to do this. And,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want anyone taking liberty with what the court's going to look like at the end either.
Yeah. So we'll, you know, we should probably set that up. I mean, I'm presuming that's a spring execution.
Okay, yes. Do you want to talk to the teacher? Do you want me to set some kind of web page or a Zoom meeting up? Or?
We should probably do that, Wade. You know, with Steve and you and
Okay.
I and the art teacher.
Okay. Does anyone else want to be involved?
I mean, I think we bring it back to the
Okay.
to the whole group anyway.
All right. And then I haven't heard back from Culbertson yet, but I'm going to reach out again. They're probably, you know, going through a lot right now as well.
Well, yeah, they're not even officially in session yet. I think they go back to live session next week. So I'm sure they've been all scattered.
Yes. And the water bottle filling station we talked about. The bat boxes, Peter and I went out and marked some, but Peter, George got back to me. There's lights right there. One of the poles that we chose has lights on.
Oh,
Yeah, so I don't think the bats will like it. And my other concern with the sycamores there is that you get a lot of activity going back and forth between the parking lot and the upper field.
yeah.
So it might be too close for the bats' comfort. And even if it's not, the bats will probably share something with the people as they walk by.
Yeah, that's right.
It won't
Well,
be
I know
Wuhan,
Sheila
it'll
would.
be Newtown Square virus.
Oh, Sheila, you would like one in your yard, right?
Listen, bats are great. They eat 4,000 insects a night. I would love them in the backyard. They help us with making sure that we don't get West Nile. So bats and owls are phenomenal, and I will take a box.
Well, you know,
We have a few boxes already in Greer Park, actually.
Yeah, but I think we need some owl boxes back there.
So I'm going to go back through Drexel Lodge myself. And if anybody wants to go out and try and identify some place to put it, they have to kind of face in a, I guess, easterly or westerly direction to get sun. And they have to be about 15 to 20 foot off the ground with nothing underneath, so the bats can drop and then they start flying when they hit the air.
just to let you guys know, I bought 2 of those and put them on one of my silver maples in my side yard, and I don't know if any bats have found it, but they're not very expensive, and they're easy to install.
And the last item on all business is the disc golf course you were setting up, Peter. Where have you done anything with that? Or
Yeah, I think I sent you some images, Wade, about
yes, yes, I'm sorry, yes.
yeah, the little dots. You know, I just thought, how can we be cost effective, and to lay out a course over there with circles as the goal, and you know, just put arrows and say this is hole 1 goes this way, hole 2 goes that way, hole 3. So I haven't laid anything out. I did a while back before the virus hit, and actually played. I think I had a 13-hole course over there. Played it with several friends, and then Wade and I went out and we tried to do our best just hitting objects, and I think Wade won. So
I doubt that. So is that something that we could advertise, or you know, do you want to just set it up on a weekend, Peter? Or?
well, you know, it's just upside down paint. You paint little dots, and you have start lines and arrows that would point you to the next hole. That, you know, you just keep having to paint, you know, the dots and paint the arrows and numbers. So it just would take, you know, some different kinds, maybe different colors, like they have yellow and blue, and I think they have all sorts of colors of paint. So, you know, I could color code it, and I think it would be pretty fun to do, and I think certainly to play. But, you know, I just need to go ahead from, I mean, I could buy the paint, or George, if you wanted to get the paint, I could go out and lay out a course.
Yeah, Peter, why don't we talk about it? Why don't we try to talk tomorrow about it, and we'll set up some details.
That'd be great. I would love to set that up for the community, so they could just say, oh, well, we could take some Frisbees over, and you know, there's a course over there, just like I walked through the trails that Paul had cut. Paul, remember you and I walked through that myriad of trails on the other side of the creek.
We call it the nature trail.
Yeah, and I took my little dog, Tucker, with me, and he just had the time of his life. So, you know, so people, you could put it up on the website so that people would know that, hey, there's more over there than just, you know, looking at the trains or having kids climb on the apparatuses, or just going and sitting in the park. Because I went over there, I took Tucker over there last week, and, you know, I thought, I remember doing this with Paul, and how you had marked so many of those trees, Paul. It was really beautiful work in there.
Thank you.
I felt like taking one of the signs. It was so nice, but I didn't.
Don't do that.
I didn't have a screwdriver, so. And I wouldn't have, of course. But so I'll talk to you, George, tomorrow. That'd be great. I'm home all day. It's a day off from the pool, and just feel free to call. We have some things coming in the mail that I have to be here for. So,
Okay, I'll do that.
okay, you can call me on my cell phone.
Okay, perfect.
All right,
Thanks,
cool.
Peter.
Sure.
And Wade, I just want to let you know, Linda McIsaac has joined the meeting.
Yes.
The person who is spearheading the Gather in the Circle project among several other projects in the township.
Yes, I think she's going to talk about the St. Albans Farmers Market.
Perfect.
So the Listener Trail, that's, when will that be decided? Do you know, George?
So I don't. The Homeowners Association and Toll Brothers are working on, I guess, at what point the trail officially moves over to the township for care. So they haven't given us that yet. And when they do say that they're ready to officially deed it or dedicate it, we still have to do a walkthrough and verify some of the limits of it, because the way the agreement was originally written, I don't totally know what that means from a maintenance responsibility. So they haven't written all that stuff out yet. As soon as they do, I think we're going to have a lot of heads up before it'll actually come to us.
Okay. And then there's going to be a creek cleanup at Greer Park Saturday, if anyone wants to come. I think it starts about 9 to 12, something like that. Marty Milligan is heading it up. I'm going to assist him, and then next year he goes back to Brookside where he always does it, and I'll take over Greer Park. And then we'll just add one park every year to this process. So we'll have them all cleaned eventually one year, hopefully. We're all still together.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then we have Linda wants to talk about the farmers market at St. Albans for next year.
Yeah, so thank you for giving me some time on your busy agenda tonight. And so I'm here representing Gather in the Circle. That is a placemaking committee, and George and Paul are also on that committee. And what we're hoping to do is concentrate in the St. Albans Circle area in particular for the next few years. And the purpose is to activate the space and work towards having the community involved in testing some ideas for long-term change in the area, and also just bringing community back within that area. So we have projects that we're planning, and the one I wanted to talk to Parks and Recreation today about is the idea of hosting a farmers market 2021 in the St. Albans Church parking lot and possibly portion of Chapel Road, because one of our testing ideas is we'd like to see, how we can maybe reconfigure that space and the flow of traffic. So we want to just bring community and activate that space in sort of a pandemic-friendly way. And what I'm proposing is for the EAC, Parks and Recreation, together with Newtown Square and Bloom and Gather in the Circle, we all work together jointly to make the farmers market successful for this next year. And we're hoping that we can start possibly May and have it run every, once a week through September, October. And what we also would do is have a booth, or, I think it's a tent where you pay a fee. Everybody will pay a fee to be a part of it, but we'd like to have one booth for all of our committees and for the township to also, do some outreach and some education during the farmers market. So it's an opportunity sort of for our committees to connect with the community while the farmers market is run. So I think that could be a benefit to the Parks and Rec, and also just would be a great way to bring the community together in a safe way and yet activate that space. So I thought it would fit with some of the other activities that you've proposed in the past, and sort of the yoga in the park, and I think you were planning something with holidays and a drive-through in the Drexel Lodge Park. So I just thought this might be a good fit. And what we're hoping is, you know, we would form a subcommittee, farmers market subcommittee, where it'd be a group of dedicated volunteers to actually have the farmers market run each week. And so that's part of, you know, marketing, getting the word out. And if each of our committees would support that effort, you know, that would help us broadcast and make it more successful, because we all have different avenues and groups that we connect with. So I think it would help it be successful. And I do have the lady who ran the prior farmers market that was at Mastardi's on board. She's from the Pennsylvania Resources Council, and she's willing to, you know, lead the subcommittee because she's done this all before. So we already have a sort of the expert who knows how to get things done and have it work and have it function. But what we need is the support of, you know, everybody's committee to make it successful. So I'm just curious to your thoughts and if that might be of interest.
Well, I think, Linda, I just want to say that's a brilliant idea, and you can count me in.
Yay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What happened to the last?
What day of the week were you thinking of?
Well, so right now we have, so right now we do have a survey out to the community. I'm hoping that, you know, we could push it out. I could use help in pushing that out in other avenues, but we're collecting, we're asking the public now what would be their preferred day. Right now, from what the response we've received you know, over 200 responses so far.
I did one.
Wow.
Yeah, and it looks like Saturday morning is the key date. So
Yeah.
that's the preferred date.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can count me in too.
Oh, thank you. That's great.
Yeah, Linda, I'll definitely help whatever way I can. Linda, I said I'll help in any way I can.
Thank you, Sheila. That's great. Great to hear.
So Linda, how many volunteers each time do you see necessary?
I think what Carol Butler is the lady from Pennsylvania Resources Council, and she says ideally you have a committee, a solid committee of volunteers, about 10 to 15 people each week. And that means, that also includes, you know, somebody focusing on social media and marketing, somebody focusing on, you know, a Facebook page, which is in the social media as well. And then, you know, somebody focusing on finding vendors and that sort of, you know, relationship. But then it's also the basics of helping, you know, helping, what do you call, break down some tents and things like that. So getting it set up, the physical setup aspect.
So I'm happy to be on a rotating committee, but it's not every week. But I mean, I'm a rotating guy, so you know.
Thank you.
'Cause I think
Yeah,
there
no,
were,
I could do rotating as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
they usually had 3 people work a table event for that themselves, Carol and that group. And they'd have all the resource council and like everything from rain gardening. So they always had a lot of brochures and information, which was very helpful as well. So they usually did 3 staff people there at each event.
Wow. Really? Well, that's
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping, is that we can all use it as a way to, you know.
And there was a lot of sharing information. There was always PRC and they even had DCNR stuff. So it was a lot of, you know, great way to connect with the community. So it's definitely it's a networking wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
And Linda, I'd be happy to do the setup, takedown, and just kind of be there in the morning on a rotating kind of basis, you know, a couple times a month at least, I think.
Yeah, that's great. And then would you be interested, Parks and Recreation Committee itself, in, you know, if we sort of work on it jointly, or we own it jointly, would you be able to help us market the farmers market on your social media avenues? And yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
that's great.
Now, are you looking for someone to be on the committee as well as work the events?
Yeah, and I think it could be, you know, who is here tonight, or if you know somebody that is a, you know, good, reliable volunteer that it may fit, you know, any suggestions would be great. I think, you know, because everybody here does a lot of things, so I don't want to overstretch everybody. It's more, if you know people that might be interested and part ownership with the Parks and Rec, in that I would love to have any activity, you know, like the yoga in the park or anything that you want to do some outreach and connect with the community. This would be an opportunity to do that too.
Okay.
Hey,
Linda, have
if
you
I could
also
just,
reached out to 4-H? The
Sorry.
4-H? Have you looked into 4-H, because they also do a lot with, you know, they have their pigs that they slaughter, they have their crops that they harvest through 4-H. So is there any way we could tie that into this? And when do you expect this this actual market to start getting running up? Is it for next year, or are you planning the fall? When is your target date?
Yeah, so target date is, well, we definitely want to try to launch it in May. So that
Okay.
means you would start planning and connecting with vendors January, February. Yeah, no, I think 4-H is a great idea.
So is this a May through September type program, or?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm still working with, I'm going to meet with the pastor at St. Albans Church next week. I'm going to meet with the AIC to sort of solidify if they really would be interested in helping too, next week as well. And everybody for the most part is on board, and we just have to make sure that we're sensitive to the church and the needs, if needs crop up with a funeral or a wedding, which may interfere with a Saturday. So what I'm hoping to do is maybe approach, there's a parking lot behind Rite Aid, and see if we could say, hey, if something happens where we can't hold the farmer's market because there's a funeral, would we be able to just move it to your parking lot for that temporary day? And I'm hoping that they'd be.
Yeah, that's up for sale right now. That was Vivian, but that's up for sale right now. So check into that.
Right. Or if
Yeah.
you have another idea of an alternative. So I think that
The
would
Tribe, you know, the Tribe parking lot, the Tribe,
be. Yeah.
Tribe is right next to the Remax building.
Yeah.
So if that Rite Aid back building isn't available, that Tribe parking lot is in that same vicinity. And you could just kind of even ask the township if you could close off the Chapel Road.
Yep. I think that's a great idea.
That's great. Okay. And can you just also add Gentili's to your list, maybe include them as a table or ask them? And the reason being is we don't want to compete with their businesses, and just, you know, they're doing the, you know, the vegetables and stuff too. So maybe they might want to stock it with some of they get a lot of Amish goods or baked goods or something, you know what I mean? Something just so we don't take away from their business, if you can.
Yeah. And I have been thinking about that. It's not, I think there could be some businesses that would be sensitive to that. And so what I think we should offer is, if you want to, you know, have a presence at the farmer's market, here's another
Local presence, yeah. Like Weinrich Bakery or those local businesses that, you know, so we don't bring out, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's great.
Even the you know, burlap and bean. You want to set up. I
Right.
think it would be a way where these businesses could connect, and we could also bring, you know, another idea is sometimes there are businesses that don't have the ability in the beginning to have a full-blown physical business site. So this is a way where we can allow them that entry point into the community and, you know, to market their goods, but also that would bring variety for our community as well. So I just think it's a benefit to both sides. But yeah, I don't want to exclude anybody. And I just think that what we do is we just make sure that we allow local businesses, if it fits within a market, farmer's market, you know, the items within a farmer's market, we say, yeah, sure, have a table. It will cost $25, you know, but that's still pretty good opportunity, I would think.
Okay, sounds great.
So when were you going to start having meetings, committee meetings?
Probably not until I'd say November, December, because we're just in the formation period where we want to make sure we get enough feedback from the community and make sure that it's going to be okay with the St. Albans Church community as well. And so I'm hoping that we'll have something started November, December, because when I did talk to Carol, she said, really, you do get started January, February, but there's no real rush beforehand. So I think we could start the planning in December and that would be fine.
All right, so we'll have a volunteer for you by then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Linda, I know a lot of people in the preferences might have put Saturday down for the school year or the year, but during the summertime, it's been my experience in living here for 32 years that come, you know, May to like the weekends, Newtown Square is vacant. So is there any way maybe they could consider maybe doing it like on a Friday so you at least get a better, because at least you might have a better chance, or is Saturday, you think, the best day?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point, Sheila, too. And I'm open to ideas because I know we could look at the second most popular date. But what I was thinking is we just go with whatever the most people said
Okay.
they wanted. And then if that doesn't work, I think it could be something flexible where we switch it to a date where, you know, it could be a Friday or it could be a Thursday if Saturday just nobody's showing up.
Right, because Mastardi's was a Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah.
And Linda, are you thinking about having some attraction for children?
Yeah, good question. You know, we could, if we find a vendor that,
Well, I'm thinking of these sort of bouncy things that you go into and kids jump up and down and flip all over the place. And, you know, it's mostly for little kids, but I'm also thinking that Saturday is a sports day for many, many sports during the summer.
right,
And so if parents can't bring their kids, or, you know, parents might have to take their kids to the baseball game or whatever, or the soccer game. Unfortunately, with travel teams, the parents are away with the kids traveling too. So I don't know, it's just another factor to think about.
yeah, I think that's where, you know, we could look at what has worked in other communities for farmers markets, and usually they're pretty bright and early in the day and open for a long enough period of time so you can, you know, stop on the way to maybe an event, you stop, you know, on the way home. I just think if it's open, say 7:30 to, I don't know, I'm just guessing, noon, 11, it might give that flexibility for people to come and go as they please, pick up something before they drop off at the baseball game or something like that. So, but yeah, I think what we do is we just see what the community is saying from our surveys and then compare it to what has worked best for other communities. And I think it could be a flexible learning experience, but the main goal is to sort of activate the St. Albans Circle area and do some outreach to the community and have the community connect in a way that I think could be safe for the current pandemic era that we are living through versus, you know, where, so like the bouncy house, I don't think that would be, you know, viable for next year, but probably the year after, that's something we could add. But we could do something that, you know, could be a little more entertaining for kids. And again, I think this is something that we could just adjust as we go and because it is just an outdoor flexible space, as long as we provide the basic sense of a farmer's market that people can come and gather and buy some goods and then move on. I just think it could be nice for the community.
I like it.
Great.
Yes.
Good job.
I
Yeah.
guess we can move on to newer business. What did we have? Somebody had something.
Yeah, a couple things. Okay, so guys, the issue with Greer Park, it came up a couple times, and some residents feel that there's this connection to ice skating at Greer Park, and it's coming into the issue of the pond and the safety and all that. So we're just going to float this idea to Parks and Rec to see what your thoughts are. And this is not in any way that you need to have a definite decision tonight, but it's just for us to kind of get some fact-finding information to see whether this is even a viable option that the taxpayers would like to even have. Presently, right now at Greer Park, there's a small pocket community of people that skate on that park during the winter. It seems like it's just, those individuals that know it's not necessarily authorized by the township. There's no safety, there's no parameters, there's no security. People kind of use it at their leisure. But in doing so, there's some liability issues of that nature that the township has to decide whether or not they would even want to provide insurance and things of that nature for it. So what we looked at is what would be an alternative if we were to present this to Greer Park or to the supervisors, if there is a demand from the community, not from just a couple individuals, but if the community feels that this is important. So what we did is I looked at DCNR and I looked at state parks in Pennsylvania and what they provide in terms of skating opportunities on ponds. Now, a lot of them do not, they're skate at your own risk. There's no charge, but they remind you that, natural ice is not smooth ice. So the things that they have to do is, like, rangers have to go out there and take an auger, and they require 7-inch depth for the ice to be, and it has to be checked every day. It has to be posted on their website. They need to make sure that they spread out the crowds. They have to be careful that, that areas with logs or protruding rocks or any plants or things can weaken the ice. So there's a lot of things that the state's DCNR has to do to provide that type of amenity in our state parks. But we looked at what they're doing so we can learn from it ourselves. Now, what this rangers have told me that is, since it's in a park, they can limit the controls, they can timing of when people come in and come out. They have the safety issues there. There is a ranger that's, patrolling the area. So there's obviously some security. However, on a day when they've not met the auger of 7-inch depth, and that's for just a small group, they declare that the pond is not safe to be skated on. And what they will have to do is issue citations to individuals who choose to go on the pond. So that becomes an issue, of contention. And so it becomes another issue of maintenance, security posts. So there's a lot to it if we were looking into this. So another alternative, instead of looking at a pond, we said, well, listen, let's look at a man-made structure. So there's a company that's called Nice Rink. And what they do is they can provide, now this is considered commercial grade, and it's a complete package. Now what they do is they set up these like kind of plastic board liners around the perimeter. So the quote I got was for a 52 by 104 mega size ice skating rink. This is a rink that would hold 13,520 gallons of water, which would provide the 4-inch ice. So since we're not on a pond, we don't need to be 7 inches. It would be a thing. It weighs roughly 1,560 pounds. The package for this would be roughly $6,000 for this type of skating things. And it would be set up by, either a professional installation company or Parks and Rec, but installation would be roughly $700. There's a $700 delivery fee. So altogether, we're looking at about, 8,000 plus. And George, don't have a heart attack. This is just discussions. We just want to look at, what we're looking at is this. if Greer Park and the demand for people looking at skating is so important to the community, we just wanted to look at what's a viable option and to again present it to the board. I personally think that it's an opportunity cost, that if we have $8,000 to $10,000, I think there's other better ways for us to use township resources that would benefit more people other than 2 or 3 days a year when you'd hit these requirements of the cold date. But I also thought it would be important that we take a look at it and just kind of discuss it to see if Parks and Rec were even interested in it. And it allows us an opportunity to go back to Greer Park Committee and saying, hey, you know, it is a discussion item that you've had, and it's something, if Parks and Rec is interested in, and if they have the community support, it would be something. But this is an area of contention for Greer Park, and so I think what we wanted to just do is make sure that we kind of examined it and to see if it was something that was worthwhile. And so with this is, as I said, considered professional grade, but there is some other costs associated. There's kit plates that need to be readjusted. Now the liner, they say that if you put the liner on the grass, if you use the white liner, it's supposedly not going to kill the grass, but I personally don't see how that's possible. Usually they recommend that you put this on a flat surface. It usually goes in around January because at that point it's below freezing and it has to stay below freezing. They also suggest that you put it in a shady spot because that would provide you not the sun, which would make the ice meshy. We could, if Parks and Rec was really interested in this, and we're kind of coming close to the $10,000 mark, we could incorporate it at Drexel Lodge because we'd have the bathroom facilities, we'd have the water, we'd have the electricity, we'd have all those other issues. But we could maybe kind of combine this into like a community event where we could look into maybe having a vendor on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday provide maybe like a hot chocolate, donuts type of pretzel kind of a thing with lights and make it an activity, and you could secure it. But again, it's something the township has to decide how they want to use your resources, how you want to, things, and it's something to look at. It just addressed very few townships in Pennsylvania provide free skating for the residents. I found about 14 of them. Most of them are in the Poconos or Lycombe or those colder counties. So it's just something to consider. And as I said, since Greer Park is getting kind of, some residents are, really bringing up the pond issue for skating, we just wanted to look at another alternative. So don't freak out, George. It's just something to consider. But it all comes down to, you just think about it, and we'll table it for another day. But just, it's coming up of another way to solve a problem is what we're looking at.
So I'd like to say, Sheila, I think this is a really interesting idea. I think there's a lot of moving parts, and until Greer Park knows what it wants to do with its reservoir, it's kind of premature there, but I would definitely suggest that it be written up as a one-page memo for the 2022, for a year from now. So when hopefully by a year from now, this COVID is behind us, and it could be submitted to the Board of Supervisors for the 2022 or even the 2023 year, and I'm not, and I think for Drexel Lodge Park, it makes a great deal of sense. And, if there's a survey that goes out between now and whenever George or Linda, whenever the next survey goes out, I think a wonderful survey question is, how important is ice skating to you? And just, let's hear what the residents have to say, but Sheila, I salute what you've done, and I salute that you've done all this homework on it. That's excellent.
Well, it is, when we look at all the costs, it is a huge undertaking. We're talking really with security, police, Parks and Rec. There's a lot to it. So we're talking really closer to $20,000 a year for, 2, maybe to 3 months. And of those days, you have to make conditions be. So, it's not a guarantee. It was just something that if the community feels so strongly about, like last year, I believe at Greer Park, they couldn't even skate at all. But if people are so stuck on the idea, we just wanted to present them with another alternative. And it's something I would not say that from Parks and Rec, I would not say to Wade that this should be the top source of your, taking all your funding. I think with $20,000, you could get basketball courts and bocce, so many other things. But I just wanted to provide you with consideration, and we will present it to the board, but I don't believe this is your highest need of what you need your money for, you know what I mean? So it's just something to consider.
In the meantime, I wonder that shouldn't there be a sign at the Greer Park Pond disclaiming any liability, like, you know,
That's what the township is going to do. They have to decide what they want to do on that and then go forth on that. And Steve Denise is aware of that, and George is. So
thank you.
anyone's thoughts on that? Anything else?
So no, I think that, you know, maybe if we do get feedback, if we can be included in surveys out to the community as far as what they want, recreation wise, that might help guide us, because I don't know that this is a good option, you know.
Right. I mean,
Funny
we've heard
things.
pickleball, we've heard basketball courts. I mean, they're the things that people are screaming for, and they're really where the money should go. But I think what we were looking at is just addressing a concern that was brought to our attention, but I don't believe it's the most pressing issue for the residents and what the average resident wants. Because personally, I would rather Marple Newtown Recreation Center get us discount coupons to Iceworks or Havertown or some other indoor facility that has all the safety control parameters, has, you know, organized. I mean, so it's not something I would suggest is a way, but it was an alternative that we looked into just to make sure that we discussed it and gave options to the community.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Sheila.
And Peter, did you have something else?
No, I was just thinking for Linda's group. She's looking for a volunteer, and I figured since, Paul, you volunteered me to do the plants, I could volunteer you to do the farmer's market.
I said I would do it on a rotating basis.
No, be the person who joins the, you know, you're a chairperson.
Oh, okay, well, let me think about that.
All right, I hope you do.
And guys, another big is if everyone gets a chance, the township did accept the Greenways and Open Space Network Plan. It's a 120-page document. It's phenomenal. So if you get a chance, really look at that, because that is the vision that we'd all hope to aspire to.
Where do we find it?
Well, it's on the township website.
All right.
Paul, if you want to, I can let you. I don't want to waste another tree, so you can look at my copy and we can share, buddy.
I can go on the website. I'll find it.
It's 120 some pages, but you'd be very excited with all the segments. There's, I think, 24. How many segments of the trails that are listed? Great document for all these people that work so hard on it.
Thanks, Sheila.
Peter, yes, you were awesome in it too, buddy.
So
I
piggyback.
know. I'm going to look it up tomorrow. It's my day off.
So piggybacking on that idea, if we do the farmer's market, what I was thinking we could have is like a display board on an easel, and it could show all of our, you know, the paths, bike paths, walking paths, and, you know, and then it could kind of promote the newest thing, like if we're doing at that point Jolly Yoga, or if we're doing pickleball, we could promote, like, every time have, you know, come out here, come out there, and we could give them the date, the time, and say, come join us, right? And
Right.
Paul, this is why you need Newtown Square and Bloom to set up the 501c3 so we can have an avenue to collect donations from people to fund a lot of these things, because
we already have that.
I know, but I'm saying we got to make the where we can have a bucket for parks and a lot of these things for us to make these dreams a reality. Because I know we have the 501c3, but we got to make the opportunity we can go out and kind of get some money, because I think the community would support these things and they could check off what area of interest they would like to, but we have to kind of be able to fuse it together and set up through the township, because basically we got to make sure that the township is okay with us if we're asking for donations for like a park event or you know, something of that nature.
George, how do you feel? I mean, that's a kind of a Steve Neese question, right?
Yes.
It's totally a Steve Neese question. And again, it's a little similar to the Bartram Bridge Joint Commission, who set up a separate 501c3 to raise money. That hasn't worked very well. They were never able to get traction with it. But the difference here is, I mean, Newtown Square and Bloom's already a separate entity. You know, it's a you know, they exist hand in hand with the township, but they're not a township entity. They're they're a grassroots community effort that's tied in with the township. So again, I know it's a 501c3 already. There's no reason why you can't raise funds for things.
What we wanted to do is though you allocate in the buckets, and that we wanted a specific parks fund, for let's say Greer Park or Brookside or a parks in general fund, but it would give a chance for, if we have the interest in like bocce or ball. Right now we can't even get $3,000 for the bocce or those type of things.
Yeah, it would just have to make sure that it was whatever fundraising was taking place, that it was within the scope of what Newtown Square and Bloom's about.
Right. In the in developing community, which is definitely part.
Yep. So you already do it, Sheila. All the money for the concert in the park sits in Newtown Square and Bloom account. That's where it sits, right? And we didn't have any concerts this year, but we got money for it. So so there is some money sitting there for the next concert, whatever it is.
That's for the concert. But I'm saying we were looking at kind of. So, I mean, we talk with this. We just have to get this again. We want to make sure we'll talk with Steve and make sure it's all done, because I don't want to be overseeing that.
I have another suggestion altogether of how to approach this. I think you should tell him what it is you want, and then let him think about it, and he might come up with a whole different way of doing it.
Right.
So Steve.
Yeah. That's what I think.
All right, good.
All right.
My commercials.
So I guess we're done. Does anybody have anything else? All right, so I guess we're adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, Linda.
Linda, how's your backyard?
Oh, it's missing everybody. So it's underappreciated.
Leaves changing back there?
Huh?
Are the leaves changing back there? I'll bet it's going to be beautiful.
They are. Yeah. Thanks for remembering.
That's good. Thank you.
Well, thanks for
It was-
having me tonight. So I appreciate it, everybody. It's good to see you all.
You too.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Linda.
I was just grateful another woman was on the call, for God's sake. So I'm thrilled.